I'm behind! My perfect resolution to be on top of MCU plots has been shattered in one fell swoop. I haven't had soup in ages. I mean, they've been alluding, people have been speculating it for a while, but damn it, they've done it. They did it. They did the thing. They went and they got the thing and they did it. They thinged it. So yeah, hello, welcome to SquishiVision. This is my immediate reaction, unbridled. Immediately after watching the episode, just gonna speak my thoughts out to you. I've not had a chance to really comprehend what just happened. I am just gonna say it, and I mean, so this show has been a mixture of a slow burn, peppering you with kind of things happening. I realized that I've got my V1 wrong. Whoopsie daisy, it's been this entire show has been a slow burn. It started off as kind of more or less just a straight up parody homage to 50s television with a weird thing happening at the end. The second episode only kind of had a couple of weird things, and then kind of the third episode had a bit more weird things happening, you know, and then the fourth episode was kind of just a break from all of that, and then this kind of I think, okay, from now on, I think it's clear we're going to be mixed and melding between in reality and in the sitcom world. But several notable things happened in this episode. I need to stop shouting because I'm going to end up clipping the audio, so I need to calm myself down a bit here. I have my audio set. In fact, I might just turn this down a bit so I can actually shout. That might be better. There we go. I usually have it quite sensitive because when I game I tend to mutter to myself, so I'm going to pick up all the muttering, but when I talk about what has just happened, and I am not muttering. So okay, let's just start with what makes the most sense to me, which is the visual kind of homages to the filmic norms and screen aesthetic. I loved how the camera looked like it was an 80s camera, so there's a kind of filmic grain to it. There's a kind of softness, blur to it. Things which are kind of certain colours that glow kind of a reddish colour. There's like a kind of the colouring bleeds over the boundaries. You know, the sets, that was great. We're in 16:9 aspect ratio now, which I find a bit confusing because I'm pretty certain we were still using primarily 4:3 until at least late 90s. I'm almost certain that was the case with American TV, but I might be wrong. So apparently we're now in 16:9, which means I can't do my fun kind of thing of clipping of cropping my own frame. I'm just gonna go over the episode in my head. I mean, yeah. So they start off kind of with the children. And then the children grow up like magically, so we're getting some indication that the kids aren't normal. But what's kind of pretty obvious fairly early on was, and I think Vision picks up on this, is how much Wanda is now trying to not maintain the facade of her magic, and she even says pretty straight on that she doesn't think they should hide anymore, which is interesting because we're still not clear on motivations, and even the characters in this episode themselves speculate it. So like it's amazing because it's like everything that we as an audience are speculating as well. The characters are speculating because the characters are audiences to their own show. It's fantastic on meta level. So like you have essentially like both the agents of S.W.O.R.D. but also Vision being like, well, at first I was kind of thinking you weren't even aware that you'd accidentally created this reality, but now I'm not so sure. And the S.W.O.R.D. people were like, well, we thought Wanda was trapped, but now we think she's actually the one doing the trapping. And these are all things people have been speculating, so it's great to find. It's frustration when you watch an episode and you fan theorizing, and you're like, why can't you fan theorize this? It's pretty obvious, it's staring in the face, but obviously we as the audience have the benefit of being behind the fourth wall, having an omniscient view of what's happening, but now the audience will have it too, and the characters have it too, so it's brilliant. Oh god, this is amazing. I'm getting so excited. I haven't been this excited since anyway, so so that happens, and obviously we're kind of building upon Vision's doubt, and he ends up going to work, and Sword sent him an email because email isn't translated, and email is always, even now, an email is pretty much identical to a degree to emails in the past. I mean, well, I guess slight encoding differences, and the you can use HTML, but essentially text is still text. And so they all send him an email, and actually explicitly tell him that he's trapped in an I can't say the word anomaly, trapped in something. And it's like, so, and it's great because then he clears Norm of his mind, as he was able to speak to Norm kind of normally without Wanda's influence, but then has to come back under again because he's panicking too much. And then pretty much the next time we see him, he's being open with Wanda, being like, you need to let the people go. And he seems suddenly to be very aware of what's going on. So he's gone from being under the same influence to now being in on it without any development. But I think that's great. I think that's a great deviation from the norm, because usually there's in a mystery, the person who is not in on a mystery, we as the audience have to follow that journey along with them. That's typically narrative norm, storytelling norm. You have an audience surrogate who you follow along with. But here we skip. We see Vision start to suspect something isn't right, and then we see him completely aware of most of what's going on, at least to the same degree that Sword appear to be. And I think that's a great deviation. And I say it's great because it even fits in the sort of tone that we're going for in this episode, where a lot of things don't make sense, but then they do, and they all kind of skip, and you get, much like how TV doesn't always make sense, it kind of just skips along certain things when they're not important and interesting, and it kind of, I don't have to explain it, it just works for me. Usually this would be a very jarring character development, and it's a bit annoying we don't see it, but here it just seems to work. It seems to work that as the boundaries break down and as things start to clash, Vision would just suddenly realise, honestly, that scene in the beginning, where it starts to play out as a blooper that Agatha, or Agatha as an actress, forgot her line, or they messed up the scene, and so they want to do the scene from the top, and it's breaking the fourth wall when the fourth wall is already completely shattered into sand, because that can happen in when you're filming TV, you're filming sitcoms, you realise you've done it wrong, so you say, oh, can we go from the top? And it's usually put into a blooper reel. So they're kind of parodying that, but then they turn it on its head, and it's spooky because the laughter kind of fades out. The characters who aren't in on it are kind of trying to react to this, what's going on? And it was the most chilling part. It was taking something so simple as parodying a blooper and making it extraordinarily chilly. Yes, because Agnes's full name is Agatha. Or at least that's what the current speculation is, that she's Agatha Harkness. So yes, I did just call Agnes Agatha. Don't put chat in my chat as if I made a mistake when I'm 2 steps ahead of you. That's kind of presumptuous. But yeah, no, it was really chilling that they kind of fade out the laughter track, and it was just silence, and there wasn't really any kind of, it was just in real time, the awkwardness. It was something so simple that was so chilling. I loved it. and then we get the bit where the children grow up. Also, the children just have weird. It's rude to say children have weird faces, but I notably don't like small people, so I don't care. The children have weird faces, but I guess that's part of it because also they had weird acting, but acting is very, I don't know. It's easy because there's the whole adage about don't work with children or animals, and it's because they're typically hard to direct, because they can only act insofar as their abilities go. I'm talking about you can get absolutely fantastic, spectacular child actors, but then you can get ones who are completely and utterly terrible. But the brilliant thing about this is that it doesn't matter if it's terrible because it plays. I'm not saying they are or not. I don't know. I mean, not good actors pretending to be terrible, but good actors pretending to play with the kind of what your expectations are. It's fantastic. But it's one of the useful things about the show. So that was great. And then we had all these things about kind of, oh god, they're setting up so hard. I don't know why I didn't see it coming. They were talking so much about kind of how far apart family is and how you can't bring people back from the dead, and Wanda was kind of teaches messages even though she's guilty of doing that. We finally get the reveal, or at least a slight insight prelude into what's happened here. So Wanda, for some reason, cracked. I mean, presumably she flipped at some point, or the grief got too much for her because she seemed fine at the end of Endgame, and that was at least a day or so after she came back to life. So but I suppose you can be fine when grief kind of hits you really, really hard. So she broke into the store facility. She stole Vision's body where it was being stored. It was hard to see in the footage. It looked like they'd dissected Vision's body, which is a bit. It's a bit that, but it's also a bit. Well, it's desecrating a corpse, really, isn't it? It's a bit unpolite to do. But she comes in. She steals. So she's stolen Vision's body, and then it kind of gives us more of an idea of what's happening here. We're also told that everything that Wanda has created is matter manipulated. It existed in some form before, and now it's been changed, which we kind of got inclination of before. But so the outfit that that Monica was wearing is still her Kevlar, so it's still bullet resistant. It just appears differently. Things just change shape. I just realised we haven't been told what happened to the beekeeper yet. But yeah, so is this Vision's corpse being? Well, that's the thing. In last episode, we saw her turn around to Vision, and it was his corpse standing. So I guess there's an implication here. She somehow animated his corpse. But again, it can't just be as simple as that. I can't see the resolution being that he was always dead and she's just basically made him move around like a puppet. There seems to be too much autonomy here. And then we get this scene towards the end when they finally and it was brilliant because they were arguing as the credits for the sitcom was rolling, and the kind of very family kind of calm, whimsical sitcom music I was playing over the credits was playing. It was really calm, serene music where they were having this very loud argument. And Paul Bettany did a fantastic job in his grief here because he revealed he doesn't remember anything before rescue, so he doesn't remember his previous life to some extent, at least. So, and it's great. It's great to see him act because it's strange because Vision acts in a certain way, but Vision we've seen here hasn't acted like this. So Vision has always acted in his very kind of android sense, very kind of reserved, calm, deliberately spoken. Whilst the Vision here hasn't acted like that at all, but that makes sense because obviously he's playing a character, he's playing Vision in a sitcom. But here, he kind of he's basically acting more emotionally like a person, and it's great to see. It's kind of weird to see Bob Bettany act like this whilst wearing Vision costume, but I guess that clash, that kind of opposite images and clash between how you're acting and how you look is what makes the scene so. I mean, they see the whole look. There's all like 80s stuff and 80s clothes, and that's an android and that's a mutant. And it was just a brilliant kind of. Bettany did a really good job acting it. acting out. And then we get some more reveals from, obviously, we get some more stuff on the Earth side. We finally see someone from Westview come outside Westview, apart from Monica, obviously, where Wanda comes out of the force field, which is sort of teasing the trailer, but did that thing where they mismatch shots in different episodes, because they cut one shot from Vision trying to push his way through to this shot. I assume it's this shot where Wanda comes out to make you imply that Vision was escaping, but that may or may not be the case. So Wanda actually comes through to threaten everyone, and it's fun. It was great because she reappears. She's wearing her Endgame style costume. She speaks in her native accent rather than her American accent, and warns them off. And it was a very kind of it was a great scene of hubris, because the director of S.W.O.R.D. was trying to threaten her when this mutant fought against Thanos. And she kind of put him in his place, and just basically managed to. It was a really intense scene where she got all of his sharpshooters to basically point their weapons towards him. And he was basically powerless to do anything as she walks back through. Obviously, they accused her of controlling all these people, and she didn't really give anything away. So her intentions are still kind of unclear. Monica tried to appeal to her better nature. We also get some interesting kind of opinions on Wanda. Like, he also clearly Agent Wu is kind of for her and was painting a very positive picture of her during his briefing. But then the director kind of intervened and was like, well, she was working with she was working with Ultron. She blew up that place. She controlled people's minds. And he's basically calling her a terrorist and everything like that, and everyone else is like, well, this is a bit weird, but it's going back to the whole debate that we carried up Civil War, and it's kind of, signposting towards how Wanda is, genuinely this big threat because of her power. So it's nice to kind of get that look on it. And then, I think the only thing to really discuss now is the ending. And I am kind of now... Okay, confession, I've only ever watched the first two X-Men films. I have the first few on DVD, and I have First Class on DVD, but all that's now irrelevant because it's on Disney+. I mean, I didn't watch it when it came out. I kind of tried to get into it on DVDs and stuff on TV. I didn't not watch it because of any particular reason. I like to watch films in order, and this comes around later. I like to jump into the middle of a franchise. I like to watch the franchise in order because I feel like that's kind of how it's intended to be seen. Because that's people who make it in franchise order. So I was like, well, I should probably watch it all. I just never got around to it. Never felt particularly inclined to, because now it's like I just felt inclined to catch up. And I think when I kind of was inclined to, Marvel was a big thing, and I was like, well, Marvel's clearly the kind of main Marvel film that I want to tell. I don't want to mix kind of things up. How naive was I? So it's not. I haven't been to rewatch it. I just was trying to pick a good time. And I guess, but I've waited too long, because now they've introduced the Pietro from the X-Men films into this film. And if it's at all related, other than casting, to the X-Men narrative, I have suddenly become someone who's watched every... that's not true. I'm behind on some of the... I haven't seen any of the Netflix shows, and I'm behind on some of the ABC, on some of the other shows. But for the most part, I am on... I'm aware of every Marvel... I've seen all the MCU... I've seen the main MCU things. If they're now combining the two franchises, as people are speculating, have been speculating they're going to do for a while, I'm now suddenly behind. Okay, so there's several ways we can look at this. Either it's just a casting joke, obviously a signpost, obviously a very deliberate narrative-based casting joke, but other than it being Peter Evans, I think is the name of the actor, nothing else is going to be said about the X-Men films. We're not going to allude to their plots. It's either going to be that, oh, it's going to be, this is that Pietro. Like, you deliberately cast that actor as that Pietro because this is meant to be the Pietro from the X-Men films, not the Pietro from Age of Ultron. And now we're connecting the two universes together. It can go either of those ways, I reckon, and it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I always believe that if they were gonna, well, not if and when they were gonna bring X-Men into the MCU, it would be probably done via Wanda, because Wanda in the comics, I'm aware, has some kind of massive reality-changing event involving mutants. I think it's actually getting rid of them rather than bringing them back. So I always figured that'd be the case, and I figured the series would lead to it. I just didn't figure they'd do it in a series, and didn't think they'd do it in episode 5, and that's pretty bold and pretty good of them. Because, like, because there's so many aspects to this, because Wanda in the MCU wasn't called a mutant, because Marvel didn't have the rights to use Marvel Studios didn't have the right to use mutants, so they just called her an enhanced individual, and they made her backstory that she was formed from the effects of the Mind Stone, not from natural born mutation. Whereas the mutant, the Pietro that we've seen, is a mutant. He's a mutant through and through. So it depends how they're gonna go with this. But think about it, because this film is meant to lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse, Madness in the Multiverse. I can't remember what the full title is, propositions. And that's meant to lead into the third Spider-Man film. And the third Spider-Man film, if you remember, has Jimmy Fox from Amazing Spider-Man 2 cast as Electro, and you have Alina Morena cast as Alfred Molina. Rather, I'm trying to say words and names I can't remember off my head. You have Alfred Molina cast as Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, and then you have the speculation that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to come back. And I feel what they're going to do with that film ties in immensely with what they've just done here, because it's the exact same thing of casting a character from a different franchise to play the same role. And even Far From Home alluded to this being happening. And I hope it all ties together. I mean, why would you not, at this point, tie it all together when you have all these things, allowing you to tie it all together? I do feel bad for Aaron Taylor Johnson, though. Like, the dude signed up for a couple of Marvel films. Like, I think it was still at the time his contract was for a couple of Marvel films if they wanted him, but they never brought him back because his character had died and, was gradually kind of forgotten about. So, it's like, I understand why it makes sense for narrative reasons, but it's like, oh yeah, Aaron, this character you introduced this universe, we're just gonna not ask you to come back and portray them again. We're gonna get the guy from who played it the same year as you. It's basically being replaced by like someone who is your peer. It's kind of insulting in a sense. I hope they do something with. I hope they at least refer. Like, I hope we get some kind of visual reference to Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, like we see a photo or something. Like, don't just. But it's like, oh, but the episode lampshades, it's great because immediately Darcy recognizes that it's Pietro, even though he looks completely different apart from the white hair, and it's like, oh, she's recast Pietro, and it makes sense in the context of the thing. It's like they saw the opportunity that they had and they did the most fantastic, brilliant thing they could do with it. It is great. Oh, right. I'm getting lightheaded. I think this is the most I've ever had to say on a WandaVision episode, because it is the most potential of what the heck has just happened and how to go from that. Yeah, that was a cliffhanger which I know. I didn't mind these. People have said, why couldn't they make this season released all in one go so people could binge watch it? And I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad mostly for selfish reasons, because I'm glad for mostly selfish reasons, because I wouldn't have time to binge watch this all in one go, especially because I watch it with my friend. But obviously, if I didn't watch it all in one go, it would get spoiled for me quite quickly on from people talking about it, because it would probably take me a couple of weeks to get through all the episodes, and actually another half an hour long. probably maybe 2-3 weeks to get through, but I really don't get the spoil that long. Also, I think as a mystery, it relies a lot on tormenting you with week-long gaps to let theories burn in your head. I think the mysteries wouldn't have as much impact if you get told them. If you get the resolution immediately afterwards, I don't think the show is meant for binging at all. I think it's meant for patience. But despite all that, I need to know what we're doing with Pietro. Oh, I wonder how everyone. This is the thing, because the audience of the show is the characters in the show. I want to see next episode mostly because I want to see how all the characters react to it. I don't care how anyone else in real life thinks about it. I want to know how the characters react to it. I want to know what you guys think about it, because this is a good seed for me to end and for me to encourage you to leave comments below. What do you think this means for the MCU? Because as numerous clickbaity titles and are currently saying online, this has potentially shattered everything we think we know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm gonna have to make time to binge watch all the X-Men films. Next week we get the episode set in the 90s, which is the decade I was born in. So, becoming more contemporary. I've been Harris. I have a lot of things to read online now. Whew. See you next week. Becoming more contemporary.